So I'm trying to see why. Adjust speaker volume. Oh, that's why it had dropped. Okay. Here we go. What verse are we on? Yes, we'll be worse off without that knowledge.
1.14.
Huh?
1.14.
114?
1.14, yes.
Did you say 114? Yeah. Yeah, Swadeham Aranim Kritva. 114. First chapter, 14th verse. And if it's something looks like Swadeham Aranim Kritva, you're on the right track.
And that's at the top of the page. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know which one they are following. And if you have gone to Tileshu Tailam, you have gone too far. And if you are Jnatva Devam, you're really behind. So, and that's how it goes. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Swadeham aranim kritva pranavanchottaranim pranavancha uttara aranim. So pranavanchottaranim ध्यान निर्मथनाभ्यासात् ध्यान निर्मथनाभ्यासात् देवं पश्येन्निगूढवत्. This is actually a continuation from the 4 o'clock class. Yeah, the previous class. Really. So make your, it's the ancient way, like we discussed a little bit, the ancient way of producing the fire using a stylized fire sticks. One is stylized wooden pieces rather. One is a kind of a hollow wooden piece and the other one is more like a mortar. One is like a pestle, both made of wood. And you put a piece of rope, a coir, little piece, a frayed piece of rope. And then the friction. So, what is the clue here? There is the churning and then finally the burning. These two make up the encyclopedia of the inner work that one has to do. BC, burning, churning. Yeah. And this is to show that the knowledge, when it is given, when the knowledge is given by the teacher who belongs to a lineage, a traditional lineage, and by a student who has the qualifications and the receptive mind, then the means of knowledge. Here it is called vritti jnanam. And what is this vritti jnanam? Vritti jnanam means that which is produced, the thought that is produced while listening to the teaching. What is the thought that is produced while listening to the teaching? When do I get to go home? Maybe that is produced, but that's not the thought we are talking about. What is produced? What kind of thought is produced while listening to the teaching? In response to the teaching, there is a thought produced, correct? Inside the head. What form might that take? So if I am talking, you are having some thoughts, correct?
Yeah.
About the teaching, you will be having some thoughts. So what form might that take?
A question.
Okay, that's one example, one question. Okay, what other form might it take?
Aha.
Now we are coming closer.
Revelation.
Revelation. Yeah. So that's very important what you said. Revelation. Meaning it's not some new knowledge that has been pounded and put into, through some kind of a hole in the head. But what was already there, that is, i.e., the nature of yourself is revealed through the thicket of ragadveshas. Yes, the teaching is like a powerful flashlight that cuts through the thicket, the thick forest of the ragadveshas, and reveals what is there. So in a mind of what is called Uttama Adhikari. What is Uttama Adhikari? What is Adhikari? Let us take it one step at a time. What is Adhikari? Adhikari means what? Huh? No. Karta is doer. Adhikari? Who is Adhikari? Let's see if online people know. What is Adhikari? We'll wait till the Spuranam takes place.
They'll Google it and let's
People here are making fun of all of you. They are saying the way they know the answers is because you will all Google it and then let us know. Adhikari is the student with the qualified mind for the teaching. A qualified student is called Adhikari. Adhikaraha asti. Adhikari means qualified. Adhikara means qualification. So this 6-pack and the other 3 that we discuss are all called Adhikara, qualifications. The one who possesses them is Adhikari. So let us say an Adhikari, Uttama Adhikari means an ideal, typical, qualified mind. We are not even talking of a person here. We are talking of an ideal type mind. Let's say the mind grows a pair of legs, walks into the class, sits down and absorbs the knowledge like a sponge and does one namaskar and goes away. Why? Because it has done work on the raga dveshas, on the ragas and the dveshas, on the fears and the desires, and on all the things that make it go in some kind of a paralytic mode of non-functioning, non-receptivity. So this ideal typical mind, that's why I said a mind with some hands and legs, has done the work. And there is when the light of the knowledge shines through the mouth of the teachings and the teacher, there is no thicket to either impede that light or to refract that light or to distort that light. There is no thicket of preferences and desires and blocks, so that immediately what needs to be revealed is already shown and the mind says, aha, and the mind is off, gone. This is called Uttama Adhikari, the ideal typical student. And where are they? The ones that have no or very little ragadveshas, the ones even if they have ragadveshas who can successfully suspend them at least during the class. Where are they? Or should we use a microscope? Where are they? Right here, very good. If that's the case, very good. Generally, we say that such ideal typical Uttama Adhikaris are found only in situations such as the Upanishads. Like for example, or even Hastamalaka, which we just studied, that Hastamalaka was a really ideal student. In fact, he taught the teacher what the teacher should have taught. Made it very easy for the teacher. Had the meter down, had the verses, and for someone who had never spoken, this is very impressive. Had the knowledge, had the meter, had the words, had the correct vision, everything. And also Shuddha Cheta he brought in and said what one needs to do in order to clarify this understanding. So this is the ideal typical student. Such students, the Upanishad herself says, are very rare and few and far between. Okay? So that is on one end of the continuum. That's why stories are produced in the Upanishad. Stories are there where the student who was walking from one village to another accidentally happened upon a class where this vision was being given. It was not his intent to pursue this study. He was merely going from one village to another. But then what happened? He wanted a glass of water. So he stopped. And he was very well brought up. And he knew that it is an act of, not a cultured act to disrupt a class. So he respectfully stood and listened. And students were themselves old and had grown beards by then. The teacher was, in and out of dementia because had been teaching for so long. Had to be reminded, where am I? Which chapter? What Upanishad? Oh, okay. And this is how the class was going. And listening to that, this fellow who was just a person passing from one village to another got enlightened. And the students with big beards are still sitting there, And so he would be what is called Uttama Adhikari, where the means of knowledge, which is the pramana in the form of the words of the teacher and the teaching, contacts the place where the knowledge hits, which is the antakarana, the mind, which is cleansed of ragadveshas, and the knowledge takes place. This is what is called the ideal student. Now that is on one end of the continuum. If we discuss one end of the continuum, what is on the other end? Adhama Adhikari. Adhama means with the lowest kind of Adhikari possible. And if I ask you the question, where are they? You should say not here, okay? The last time you said here, very good. This time if I ask you, where are they? You say absolutely not here. Again, it's an ideal, typical situation. Full of rajas, anger, full of tamas. What is tamas? Buffalo buddhi, buffalo, and think these slow moving, animals of dull intelligence are likened to, to describe tamas. Anger, restlessness, rajas. And so, the mind that is filled with rajas and tamas, it will never walk into a Vedanta class. The Adhama Adhikari will not come to the Vedanta class at all. Will more likely be dragged by a parent or a significant other. And then within 2 minutes of the opening prayer will promptly fall asleep. This is what is called, and do other things also. And so this is like someone who is incapable of being taught. So such a person also does not exist in real life. Neither does that person exist who is the Uttama Adhikari, and neither does this person who is the Adhama Adhikari, the lowest kind of student, does not exist. So who is the one who exists? The middle kind. Madhyama Adhikari. And where are they? Everywhere. Oh, thank God, at least they are everywhere. They include me too, yes. So one can take heart, because there is some strength in numbers. So you feel like everyone is of the middle kind. Bahunamemi madhyamaha, you can say like Nachiketa did. And so here is something beautiful, Because what is the Madhyama Adhikari? The one who has some good qualities from the Uttama Adhikari, the one who has gained the need for cleansing of the heart of the Ragadveshas, that at least it has to be done in principle, one who knows. But then one who also has a few similarities with the Adhama Adhikari, in the sense is unable to do a complete cleansing of the inner jungle immediately, is in the process of doing that but not quite there yet. And for such a person, these auxiliary sadhanas are described. But no, they don't produce knowledge, as we saw last week. What do? They just make the way for the knowledge to be deeply internalized and its fruits thereof enjoyed. This is what they do. And so these are what is called practices. So we must never mistake that the practice produces the knowledge. The practice, like we said last time, removes the doubts associated with the knowledge and also removes the habitual orientation, which even though I know this knowledge, even though I know the whole, I am behaving not like Brahman. I am behaving like Abrahman, means not Brahman. And so what is the reason? So the place, that is because the jungle thicket of the heart has to be still pruned. Through this, these are the pruning shears for this pruning. This is the thing. So there is a visualization given, which we saw, is that the mind is the mind is the receptacle or the bottom arani, and the Om, not just one Om, the repeated chanting of the Om. And yes, you can sneak in a few all on its own, no problem. So the repeated chanting of the Om, which has the effect of bringing Vairagya. It gives Vairagya. That is the upper churning agent, correct? The burning agent and the churning agent. So what is being churned in the example? A frayed rope, correct? You got where I was going. And then what is being churned in the exemplified? A frayed jiva, pun intended. F-R-A-Y-E-D, and colloquially A silent, F-R-A-I-D, frayed and frayed. Frayed because lifetime after lifetime of this nonsense. Frayed, it just feels like nothing is happening. Here I am in the middle of samsara. And where was I last life? Middle of samsara. And before that, samsara. What is this? How much effort have I done? How much have I done, Upanishad to study? What is this? And so that is the frayed jiva. And then the frayed jiva. The frayed jiva is what? This inner child that is offensive and defensive. This is what the inner child is. That is why when you look at the statue of Apasmara underneath Lord Dakshinamurti, what does he look like? Afraid. He looks like a baby, Then you look closer, you put the Upanetram and look. Yeah, he's got a mustache and a mean look, actually. He's got a mustache, but he's a baby. This is the stunted, truncated, stagnated child. Mutant, yes. And then what? It's offensive because it has got a drawn dagger in one hand and defensive has the shield in the other. Don't come near me, otherwise I'll attack. Don't come near me. Don't tell me what to do, otherwise you have it. And sometimes this stupid baby, overgrown baby, is foolish enough to attack itself. In instead of going like this, it goes like this and hurts itself constantly. Poor thing. Yeah. That's why it's called apasmara. Whenever the upasarga, the prefix apa comes, it means not good. Yeah. Smara means when remembered, it is not good. That which haunts by the mere memory, through memory, is called apasmara. Any thought of the inner child, can you have pleasant thoughts of the inner child? Not unless you've done a lot of work with the inner child. And there is actually some very nice inner child workbooks. You can do that. You can buy those workbooks and then, what is that called? Write, journal every day. It tells you how to journal also. So you give a voice to this inner child. It already had a voice. It was speaking loud and clear, but you couldn't understand. So here you give it a language that it can finally start speaking to you in a way that you can understand. It's a lot of, Jungian kind of work. And then you give this a voice, and then, and then when you do some work with it, first you have to say, I'm not blaming you. The fact that you are who you are is a great testament to your survival. I'm really sorry for what happened. And what is it going to say? Yeah, right. Where were you all this time? And then what do you have to sit in the witness box as the adult. See, I told you this is a continuation from the last class. You have to be in the witness as an adult. If you think this work is boring, that means you have identified with the apasmara. Yeah. If you think this is not working, you have identified with the inner child. You have to be the adult. And so same thing, when your child tells you, where were you all this time? You have to say, yes, daddy had to go away, mother had to take care of business, whatever you tell. And so here also to your inner child, you have to say, I'm sorry that I don't give too many excuses, because that's a precursor to identifying with it. Yeah. So just say, I'm really sorry I was not there when you needed me to. So how do I know you're going to be there for me? Inner child talks now. Well, I can't make you understand any other way than just by being here. So I hope that when I'm here long enough for you, you will understand that I'm finally here. And what's the inner child going to do? Make a big face and put its tongue out, because it doesn't trust. It is not going to trust you so easily. Why? Because it has been suppressed. The adult has itself consciously suppressed it. So now if you say, I'm going to be there for you, I'm not blaming you. And in fact, I know you're really hurt. And I want to help you. And I cannot help you unless you trust me and you allow yourself to be shown. And so I'm going to hold you and hug you till basically you disappear. Where? As myself. You integrate into the adult. Don't say, I'm going to fix you so that you never disturb me again. Wrong. It is going to disturb you. Next time you have an important function where you have to speak in public or do some important thing. It's going to haunt you it's going to say, boo. Yeah. And then what will you say? Boo-hoo. That's all you will say. So you have to work. This is what is called inner child work. You have to regain its connection, that trust. You have to regain the trust of a trust that you yourself had consciously broken, because you as the adult didn't want to have anything to do with looking at the pain, the fear, the afraidness that the inner child represents. So one has been in denial, and suddenly you tell the inner child, I'm going to be there for you. It's going to say, yeah, right. Go home, go away. Talk to the hand, it's going to say. But you have to be patient. If you're impatient, that means you have identified with that aspect of the inner child which is impatient and intolerant. So you have to be the patient mother You have to parent the inner child, and this is very, very difficult because the first desire of every jiva is to give up the inner child for adoption and let the significant other parent it. That's why many people get married, because somebody will parent my inner child. I want to farm it out so that I don't have to deal with it. A very intelligent thought, but it doesn't work that way. You know why? Because each one that you are giving up the inner child for as a potential foster parent themselves have their own inner child that they hope that you will parent. Okay, so what's wrong with that? I will parent your inner child and you parent my inner child, and that's what we call a marriage or a deep friendship or whatever you want. That's what it's all about. It works only to a small extent. It works for some time. It works for a bit. Why does it work? Because there is a certain brilliance behind it. I scratch your inner child, you scratch my inner child, and there is a certain reciprocity, so nobody is feeling taken for granted. It works for a bit. Then why doesn't it work for a long term? Because the other person's inner child is going to bring out certain other demons within oneself. And so suddenly we are talking of a plurality of children. Yeah, these inner children morph and multiply faster than amoebae, and then before that, before you know it, you have a daycare center running. That doesn't belong to you. Then naturally you get resentful, meaning your inner child says, if that one has multiplied, I'm not going to be left far behind. I'm going to do 2, 4, 8, because it only goes in doubles. Yeah, not 6. You skip the 6. 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. Yeah, you go like that. And after 32, what? 64. And like this you go on. And so that's why it doesn't work after some time. And also it doesn't work after some time because you are the best parent for your inner child. When the other person tries to parent, they will always co-opt or neglect or do something in a way that it loses the efficacy, even though in the beginning it looks wonderful. That's what is called the honeymoon period of any relationship, whether it's a friendship or a marriage or whatever it is. After a point, it doesn't work. Oh, then I'll find another partner. Go right ahead. This is what people do. That's why the divorce rate in the West is so high, because one is constantly looking for new parents for the inner child. That means what? That means we have to come to a very important understanding that the inner child is in dire need of parenting. That shows that the inner child is wanting parenting yesterday, not even now. It has been neglected, and it is some people who do this inner child work call it the pain body. They make it actually an embodied entity. This is not me, this is my pain body. And it's useful, a metaphor that is useful. So it's not some disembodied entity. It's the body. If you were to make craft a small body, or even a big body, made up with a child's brain, because it doesn't know what is what. It takes everything personally, it internalizes everything. It is extremely offensive and defensive, and it's not its fault. So if you were to group all the pains of the past, known and unknown, into this body, this is what is called pain body. So the inner child goes by another name, pain body. So one thing is very clear when we understand the machinations of the inner child is that it needs parenting. And you, because you are the one who is the best observer, and you have a lifelong connection with it, perhaps even an previous life connection to it, in the form of memory and desire. This is what is the body of the inner child. Painful memories and suppressed desires. So you are the best parent for it. So you have to learn. You means the ahankara here has to learn to not rely. This is on the empirical level of the reality. You have to learn to not rely on the other, to farm out this inner child to be parented, whether that other is your own mother or father or significant other or teacher. This is not the job of anyone else except you. And this is why the whole Omkara Uchcharana, which burns up what? That pain body. How does it burn up the pain body, and how does it burn up the bars of the cage which imprison this inner child? How does the Omkara Uchcharana do that? Well, because Om stands for everything. It stands for that which has form and that which doesn't have form, which is everything. Is there anything other than that which has form and that which doesn't have form? No. Oh, good answer. So it includes everything, correct? So when I chant Om, I have gone from the constant gharshana. Gharshana means the rubbing against this pain body. The other thing about this pain body, before I go to this Om, is that it continues and thrives because it really is nothing but a body of pain. It continues and thrives by recreating the pain again and again which it had had in the early childhood era. It recreates that pain and it doesn't know why it's recreating it. It's both an intelligent and a dumb response to life. Why is it a dumb response? Dumb means patterned. It's patterned because it is used to pain and it thinks that it can justify its existence only through pain, and therefore it keeps recreating the same pain as a way to further its own existence. That is one reason. But the second reason, which is an intelligent reason, is that it wants to overcome the pain and doesn't know how. So it keeps revisiting the pain, and it's too scared to revisit the past, and it doesn't even remember, it has blocked it off. So it has some vague memory, so it recreates the same situations over and over in the hope that that impasse, which keeps butting its head in the present, that the impasse of the past will somehow, be broken and a way will be shown forward. But I said the intent is intelligent, but the method is not very intelligent. Okay? So for example, what will that look like? For example, somebody that has been abandoned as a child, might go and replicate that abandonment in situations where it's not, and therefore even recreate that abandonment even though there are no moorings for it at all. And someone who was told that one is a failure might recreate situations and make sure that one fails in order to, address that situation of failure. Okay? So this is what the pain body is. The other thing, the important thing is that it constantly recreates, refashions itself using the old bricks, the hurt, bricks, or rather we can call them brick bats, with which it was pelted. It uses the same thing to pelt itself. This is what is a very sad situation, this inner child. So what does Om do? Just chanting some Om. Because it's not some Om. It is what brings you home. It is that which is everything. So from just this focus on recreating this pain body, the adult is plugging into a larger reality than one's miserable self. This is the blessing of Om. So when you say Om, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Dum Durgayai Namaha, anything. As soon as you say Om, you have taken off in a little jet plane, far away from the focus, the relentless focus on this, solipsistic, navel-gazing inner child focus. because inner child is mithya. And it's trying to resuscitate its own existence by trying to make this mithya, this make-believe inner child, actually it is mithya within mithya. What is mithya within mithya? So we have paramarthikam, the absolute sat, we have the empirical reality of duality, and then it's duality within duality. It's your own subjective projection. Within the objective projection there is a subjective projection which has to be resolved so that I can live with sanity in the objective projection. I can live sanely. So the resolution of the subjective projection is incumbent upon connecting to the objective level of reality, which Omkara Ucharanada, the repeated chanting of Om, blesses one with. This is wonderful. And each time you say Om, 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 I said there is a churning. And what is that churning? The churning is the constant practice of bringing the adult back into the place of the witness, bringing the adult out with the inner child for a breath of fresh air. It's like the adult is wheeling an empty pram. Really, there is no inner child. First you think, oh, I have to dress it up and bundle it up and put it in the pram and then wheel the pram. And then after all this wheeling, dealing, it's just an empty pram. There is, the inner child is safe, finally. Because everything that is caught in the whole is safe. The adult connects with the whole. The inner child, which is just a shadow of the adult, also connects with the whole. If you are sitting having a cup of tea, the shadow is also having a cup of tea, right? A shady cup, but nonetheless, it's also having a cup of tea. So it's so wonderful. So you don't have to do anything. If you feel burdened, I have to suddenly parent this inner child. Where am I going to go? I have to look for books on Spock, whether to beat it or whether to hug it. There is all these controversies on child rearing, and whether to be a helicopter parent or to be a gone parent or to be a tiger parent. What kind of parent I should do? Don't worry, Om it. Yeah. Om your parenting. And this churning is basically the shadow at noon which integrates into the subject. There is no shadow, suddenly it has disappeared. What happened? Disappeared. So that which happens to the shadow at noon, it has integrated into the one that has cast the shadow, which for lifetime after lifetime felt like, it was abandoned and it was not integrated, it was not so important, it was the shadow side, it was never accorded any importance. You see, this is the trick. Because if you keep trying to pacify the shadow, then what happens is that you are sinking more and more into the realm of subjectivity. And if you keep trying to deny the shadow, then also you are sinking into a realm of subjectivity, because the denial is also a subjective avoidance of pain. And that pain body is, that person's pain body, such a person's pain body is manufactured with the bricks of the avoidance of pain. So here, you're not trying to wonder what kind of a parent you're going to be. You're going to take the help of Om. Om is your Spock. Om is your guide to correct parenting. Om is the guide, is that connection, like a parent support group. When the parents are going crazy, one day they just, bring a babysitter forcibly and make it sit with the child, and they go and meet and talk out how crazy it is to be a young parent or a parent of a young one. And here too, Om is your support group. And Om, this is the churning. The churning is the integration of the inner child into the adult. And then a beautiful thing starts to happen which is very palpable and which is immediately noticeable and which is so brilliant. The inner child attack. What is the inner child attack? It attacks? Yes, it attacks. It has a knife. Attack means when the unconscious comes out. That is what is called an inner child attack. Okay? So, what happens when the unconscious comes out? You say, I don't know what came over me. Right? The shadow takes over. First, what should the shadow do? If you go like this, the shadow also should go like this. But if you go like this, the shadow goes like this. And then the shadow is starting to have a life of its own. It's taking over your business transactions. No longer you are transacting the business. The shadow has creeped in and has become the owner of the business. The shadow is in fact taken over your relationships. And your significant other says, I think we need to spend some time apart. Because I don't know who you are. I don't know who I'm dealing with. Because the shadow has decided that it is going to be the adult and relegate the adult to the background. You see? This is what is called the unconscious taking over, and this is what I'm calling it attacked by the inner child. You know? So the inner child attack in a psyche where the inner child has not been parented, in a psyche that has no Om, the inner child attacks are too many, too frequent, indiscernible. You don't know when the adult is predominating and when the inner child. It's only accidentally the adult comes out. There is a book, Accidental Tourist. So the inner child is an accidental tourist in his own body, mind, sense complex. The inner adult is an accidental tourist in its own body, mind, sense complex. This is very sad. And so with this kind of a work, with this kind of an awareness and seeking help from the whole, from that Om, which is the name for Bhagavan, which is the name for you, which is the truth of everything that has form and everything that has no form, then a beautiful, palpable change starts to take place, which you can recognize in 3 important ways. Yeah. What is that? The frequency of the inner child attacks goes down. So if last month there were 10 attacks, not per month, per day, 10 times where prasabham harati manaha, as the Bhagavad Gita says, forcibly I lost my mind as it were taken away from me by force. There were 10 such attacks that visited me and took away the adult, left the inner child in charge of some dangerous situations. Right? Then with this work, with the Om churning, then what? Not chanting, Om churning. Om churning. Then this month, there are only 3 attacks per day. You see how much it has gone down? Yeah. Next month, there will be just 1 attack per day, if that. So the frequency of the inner child attacking and taking over goes down. It is a palpable change. That's the first one to watch out for. You can track. And the second way to track this is the intensity of the attacks. Before, when the inner child came, it would take over the body, and then I would be physically sick. It would take over the mind, I would be mentally sick. It would take over the emotions, I would be emotionally sick, and I would not come out of from under the covers. The intensity was so much that I felt like going to the ER. That kind of an intensity, where it would ring out every single karana, every single body, mind, sense, complex, inner instrument, everything. I would feel wrung out, drained, and sucked dry, left to recover on the roadside after these inner child attacks. Now, with the Om chanting and the resultant integration and the churning, the intensity is such that I can withstand it. I no longer feel drained. I only feel like I'm in the rain. That's slightly different, That's slightly different. I no longer feel that I have the rug has been pulled from under me. That kind of a harshness and the intensity starts to come down. That is the second one. And the third one is that the recovery time between one inner child attack and the second inner child attack goes down. Before, it took me 6 months to come out from under the covers like a bear. Hibernation, enforced hibernation. 6 months given to in service of the shadow, like the Groundhog Day. Got scared by my own shadow and then said, okay, 6 more weeks, 6 more months, whatever of winter. And now what? Now the recovery time is quicker. I'm not swept off the feet, neither am I totally dysfunctional as a result of these inner child attacks, and also the recovery time in between one episode of the unconscious taking over and the second episode is fewer and further between. This is the 3 ways you know that this inner child work is actually paying off. What are they? Frequency is less, intensity is less, recovery time is less. Very nice, isn't it? So this is what is the Om. This is the churning where the inner child's non-being is exposed to the adult gently. Oh, but who will tell the inner child, hello, we are talking of the non-being. Yeah. The non-being of the inner child as a separate entity than the adult is slowly revealed to the adult with this kind of a work. And more, the adult prevails. The inner child is there, but it is toothless, daggerless, shieldless. So if you put your hand in the mouth of a toothless child, it will clamp down the jaws. But actually it's a very pleasant feeling because it's not going to bite, it's not going to hurt. So the unconscious need not, it is Ishvara Srishti. It is Ishvara's creation so that the adult can grow, so that the child can grow into an adult without needing to constantly be bogged down by the hurts and pains that it doesn't have the ability to process. So the unconscious is Ishvara Srishti, Ishvara's creation. Can you remove Ishvara Srishti? No. Don't even try, You cannot remove that which you did not create. Correct? Simple. So then what else is there other than Ishvara Srishti? Jiva Srishti. And Jiva Srishti is, giving feeding bottle to the inner child. Feeding bottle of Raga Dvesha formula, R&D formula. You keep feeding it and you take it as real. This is Jiva Srishti. And what is that? Your own projections of directed against the world, against yourself, as a result of the seeing the world and yourself through the eyes of the inner child. This is your own Srishti. Jiva Srishti. That can be removed, can it not? Yeah. That is what we try to remove. Is the Jiva Srishti the powerful projections as a result of the unconscious. We are not trying to eliminate the unconscious. The unconscious is like a toothless child. It's just a body that no longer, it's a body of pain that does not seek to heal and recreate itself in order to do so. That is the healed unconscious. And this is something very beautiful to know. At the individual level, Maya operates. This is the, Maya's twofold powers. What is the first power of Maya? Vikshepa.
Projection.
Yeah. And then?
Avarna.
Concealing power. See, at the individual level, it's so beautiful. At the individual level, the concealment is what? The unconscious, because the pain body is hidden from me. I don't know what triggers it. I don't know what makes me angry. I don't know what makes me reactive. I don't know what makes me hurt myself and others. I don't know what blocks this knowledge. And when you say I don't know, it is concealed from you. This is Maya's avarna at the individual jivik level. So the Mayik power at the jivik level in the form of avarna is this unconscious. And then what is the vikshepa? As a result of I don't know what happened, because of which I have all these thoughts, fears, I project the fears onto the world and onto myself and become a hostage to those fears. So at the individual level, I can withdraw the vikshepa, because it's my own vikshepa really. I can withdraw the vikshepa. And then what happens at the collective level? Also there is avarna. What is avarna at the collective level? What is the concealing power? Avidya is avarna. Avidya means not knowing my own nature is avarna at the collective level. What is vikshepa? The duality, the manifest duality is vikshepa. So if you're talking of the collective level, what is it that you try to remove? In order to gain this knowledge, what must be removed? Avarna has to be removed. Avarna, avidya is removed, therefore avarna has to be removed. You cannot say, I'm going to end duality by making everything into one and start collapsing buildings and doing all. You cannot do that, because that is Jiva Srishti. Ishvara Srishti. Vikshepa at the collective level is Ishvara's creation. Avarna is Jiva Srishti at the level of the collective. So avarna is removed when we talk about the Maya's power collectively speaking. And at the individual level, what is removed? Vikshepa is removed. So these two things, the teaching removes the avarna and the inner child work removes the vikshepa within, that forcible projections. And that's why we need both. So that is the churning. And then what is the burning? The burning is the two things. One is the burning of avidya, because the fear is the frayed rope, correct? Yeah. When the frayed rope wears itself out, meaning all the aropas are gone. The frayed rope wears itself out. See, this is a very wonderful, it's a very rich symbolism. You can go on and on. So the frayed rope is churned out, burned out. The aropas are all gone. The projections subside. And so what is burned along with the fear is avidya. Avidya is nothing but sorrow and fear. The little wet piece of rope is burned. Wet is the sadness and the dried one is the fear, represents fear. So either way, it's burned means avidya nashat, by the destruction, through the destruction of avidya. What is gone? Samsara nashaha. So the whole samsara representing fear, representing sorrow, representing pain, affliction, all these things are gone. And that burning is not the production of the knowledge, but the conjoined operation of assimilation of the knowledge. When it needs that extra assimilation, removal of doubts, after the teacher has given the knowledge, or while the teacher is teaching. Both those things are very important. And so the Bhagavad Gita also uses this burning thing. Jnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute. Sarvam jnana, that's a different metaphor. The metaphor of crossing. Sarvam jnana plavena eva vrijinam santarishyasi. You will cross the ocean of samsara with a raft of knowledge, and you will burn avidya through the fire of knowledge. So that is the very important thing. So two things I said happen. One is avidya is burnt, and the resultant projections, they are just there, you can see the shape of a burnt rope, correct? But it cannot bind you. This is what I'm saying. You see the shape, you see the coils, you see the bends, and you see it has 3 bends. You see the dead body of the rope after cremation. But you look at it and say, ha ha ha, you are just ashes, you no longer bind. You are free. I am free because this rope, this frayed rope that was binding me has been burnt. So it is there, it looks like a rope, but it doesn't have any effect on me at all. You can say that. Then that is what happens. The second thing that happens as a result of this knowledge, not only is the avidya and the whole host of samsara is burned, all the emotional things which I don't want, but all the karmas are also burnt. So the burnt rope, the dead body of the burnt rope, the carcass of the burnt rope stands for karma, standing in account of the jnani. Yeah. You can see it, it is there, but it has no effect. Yeah. So, sanchita karma. There are 3 kinds of karma. One is the suitcase. You come already with excess baggage. Yeah. Which Lord Yama gives freely. For airline you have to pay $50 per bag nowadays. But here in this instance you get free 2 bags you can carry when you come to the world. The first suitcase is called prarabdha. It's a very heavy suitcase. And it has a combination lock. Only Guptaji, Chitragupta, knows the number. You don't know the number. And suddenly during the day it will open. And sometimes it will give you cake. Macaroon. Where is that? Yeah. So sometimes it will give you macaroon. And sometimes it will give you prahara. What is prahara? Beatings. Yeah. Sometimes it's both. It's got 2 compartments. Oh, one for shirts and one for trousers? No. One for papa, one for punya. And this prarabdha suitcase, this bag, gets lighter and lighter as you are ready to take off. Where? Into the next life. So this is the karma that you have to undergo in this life itself. Oh, what about the other bag? That's an empty bag also with 2 inalienable compartments. Empty suitcase, also with combination lock. The karma that you do here, all your actions here, are split into papa or punya and go into their respective slots in this suitcase. And you have no way to control it. You cannot say, yes, I killed that mosquito, but I also got a little bit of punya because the world has to deal with 1 less mosquito. No, there is no negotiation. There is no negotiation because it is decided on dharma, which is very, which is very straightforward. There is no bending and okay and no compromise. No, papa, punya. So these are the 2 kinds of karma. And then the other karma does not fit into a suitcase. So it is in a Swiss bank account, offshore bank account, maybe in the Cayman Islands, we don't know. Where all these rich people have some secret accounts. So it's in some kind of an account like that, earning interest all the time. And what is it? How did we account for this? If you have been a human being even in one lifetime, human-like existence with free will that has violated dharma, then there is endless accounts of karma, endless life forms, endless sufferings in this bank account. Some punya too, but we don't focus on that. What's the point? So these are the 3 forms of karma. Now, with knowledge, the fire of knowledge, the fire of Om, that churns the knowledge deeper in, integrates the inner child and burns the karmas, burns avidya, and along with that a whole host and a brood of all kinds of kamas and raga, dveshas, fears, desires, and then it also burns karma. Which karma does it burn? No, but which, we talked of 3 kinds. It will burn punya. To which kind does it burn? Does it burn the suitcase that you came with? Does it burn the other suitcase that you are going to go out with? Because that one gets heavier and heavier, and then finally it also joins Sanchita. Which one does it burn, or does it burn Sanchita?
The first
It burns all of them. Ah. That's why it says Jnanagni sarva karmani. Otherwise, if it only burned one, it should say Jnanagni eka karma bhasmasat kurute. Or if it burned 2, because we have the dual in Sanskrit, it should say Jnanagni sarva karmani. But what does it say? Karmani, plural, more than 2, meaning all 3 it burns. Oh, wait a minute. This is not good. This is sounding horrible. Why? Because the moment you gain knowledge, what is this body? A product of prarabdha, correct? Is it or is it not? Yeah. So then the fellow goes to the teacher with great trepidation. And then the fellow says, Adhihi Bhagavo Brahma, please teach me about this Brahman. And then what? Gains the knowledge and says, aha, has a big aha moment, sees everything clearly, sees himself as the source of the universe, and then what happens? Prarabdha gone, correct?
No.
Well, already it is so difficult to get students to be committed to this teaching because the distractions are so many. And then if this were to be the case, that after the so-called quote-unquote enlightenment within heavy quotes, you lose the life, no one will even come. If there is Vedanta class, they will run away. Yeah, far away.
It was never there.
Exactly. It was never there. So then, therefore what? And also, besides, there would be no teachers, because who would have become a teacher, heard the knowledge from her teacher, from his teacher, and went, gone. So the prarabdha is like that burnt rope shape. It's as though there we say, for the people who are watching the jnani move, because how does she move, how does he move? Hands and legs, there seems to be an intentionality, there seems to be a volition, there seems to be actions. But really speaking, they don't collect papa or punya like the burnt rope. It is an explanation for that which cannot really be explained. It's an explanation for the people who are not wise, who are seeing in the process of gaining this wisdom, who are seeing the movement of the person who has self-knowledge. But then, from the standpoint of the jnani, the prarabdha does not affect. It may affect the body, but since you don't identify with the body, the person no longer identifies with the body, it's just happening. It's all happening. It's a very happening thing, this knowledge. It's so beautiful. And so the sanchita karma, so the agami karma, first of all, the suitcase that you depart the world with, or everything that you have done in this life, which becomes the cause of other lives, etc. And the sanchita karma, everything that's standing in the account, is powered by what is called, who is the person's name? Who is the name of the person? What is the name of the person against this account? It has to be distinguished from one to the other, correct? Yeah. So Jiva A, Jiva B, Jiva C. How do you distinguish? Based on the Karana Sharira. What is Karana Sharira? The body of ignorance, which is the causal body for rebirth. So within that there are little compartments. Karana Sharira A in the form of this fellow, Karana Sharira plus B in the form of this fellow, Karana Sharira C. That is how it is. So in the jnani, in the person of wisdom, so is there a physical body? Yes. But then when the physical body, is given up at the end of the life, there is no subtle body that travels. The physical body joins the physical elements, the subtle body joins the subtle elements, and the karana body is not there. Why? Because there is no ignorance. So therefore, even while living, the person is free of prarabdha, is not affected by what happens, but does not identify as the body. The prarabdha is just an explanation. The continuation of the prarabdha is an explanation for others who are around the wise person. And then finally, after the person departs from this body, there is no coming back because there is no reason to come back. Yeah. So this is the fruit of the burning and the journey. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Yes.
So many times I've heard this in various ways, and because I'm not familiar with the particular words, I keep on having to relearn. Is there, where is this written down so that I can...
Tattva Bodha.
That's where it is.
Yes,
That
Tattva
one
Bodha.
first, yeah,
Read
okay.
through Tattva Bodha, you will recognize the place it comes.
Mhm.
It's written down very clearly. Other questions?
Thank you.
What is an effective way to develop Vairagya and build on one's mental strength, Manobala? And so the best way to overcome non-Vairagya is to act out Vairagya. Yeah. Vairagya means building the muscle of dispassion. That is what the mental strength one needs, because the temptations is so many. Especially America is a bhoga bhumi. It's not yoga bhumi. There is all kinds of things. And so therefore, it's not easy to give up things. And I don't think if we focus on trying to give up, it will come back with a vengeance. It's like that the king who was given a mantra to chant, and then suddenly the guru who gave the mantra was informed that the king had nefarious intentions of trying to gain all power and domination. So the guru called back the king and said, I forgot to tell one very important thing. Before chanting the mantra, please don't think about monkey. And he said, what? Who is going to think about monkey? And the next day he took a bath, he was ready to chant the mantra. He said, what should I not think about? Monkey. Monkey came, he could not chant. And then the following day, few monkeys came. The langurs, the macaques, all Ishta monkeys came. Ishta monkey, like Ishta Devata. And so the mantra he could not chant. So similarly, when you try to avoid something, it comes with more force. So a better way of developing mental strength, going towards Vairagya, is to focus on something bigger. That is in fact what you are really seeking. Just like the candy from the hand of the baby. You give it a big ball, a shiny ball, it will drop the candy and hold on to the ball. And then you give this inner child, which is wanting this, that or the other, a shiny Brahman, and then say, this is your new ball, your new toy. Oh really? Yes. How many classes can I attend? All of them. This is for me, yes. This knowledge is for me, yes. You are very special. This is meant just for you. Oh. And this is what Bhagavad Gita says. Rasavarjam rasopi saha param drishtva nivartate. So you focus on param, that which is absolute, and the relative fades away. So it requires a certain, inward rolling of avritta chakshuhu, as the Kathopanishad says, the inward rolling, as it were, of one's priorities, one's drishti, one's vision, if not the physical eye. One's vision is more inward, and then everything that's outward normally comes to an end. And that is one way. The second way is that when you are enjoying something which you like, when one is enjoying something that one likes, make that a meditation. Just say, okay, what is the source of this enjoyment? Is it the thing in itself, or is it me? And yes, you bring it back to yourself, Brahman, Ishvara, and make that thing itself powerless cognitively. So those are the two ways, and both help to strengthen that muscle. Yes.
Do you think that it would help to have a certain amount of dispassion for the results of, like, coming to the class and doing the chanting, doing the meditation?
Yes.
Otherwise, there's like that pressure that you're like gonna get like your special ticket punched at the end. Did I make it? Did I make it?
You did. Your ticket is punched in several places. I see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have made it. Yeah, because you see that the ticket and all, the wanting it to be punched and wanting something out of it is not you, the adult.
That's why I said the dispassion.
Yeah,
for the
so the
results.
dispatch, so just observe and love up the one that wants to see an immediate something, and just tell you are actually improving. Don't you see? You have so many wonderful things that have happened.
Yeah.
And that's why it helped to track. Now I heard some child told me that there is a Santa tracker. You can go to this website and
Yes,
find out
yeah.
where exactly Santa is right now.
Yeah. Yeah, see, for me, it would be, if the pressure, the way it pops
Yeah.
up its head for me is like, not like in like, oh, I want to be special, but more
Yeah.
like, oh my God, what if I didn't do enough?
Yeah.
Like the fear
Yeah.
of, what if I didn't do enough?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So the mantra for you, the special mantra for you, I am enough. I am enough. Enough oham. Yes. I am enough. Yeah. I am enough. I am more than enough.
Mm.
And I am enough if all I do all day is just sit and breathe. I am enough. I matter. This is the mantra. And so chant that, and that will help. That will really help. Sometimes I get caught between focusing on sheer presence and Ishvara as the omnipresent, blissful creator. I am seeing myself shuttling between these two. How do I avoid this and tread only on one path? Actually, the two are the same. So you say sheer presence, and then when the sheer becomes unsheer, no, in and through that sheerness is Ishvara. That presence which you cognize as sheer happens to be Ishvara. It's one and the same. So don't shuttle. Yeah, stay there. You don't need a shuttle between the two because the two are one. And I think we missed a few other. Let's go back here. And can you please tell me that bhakti can overcome karma? Yes, I can tell you that bhakti can overcome karma. I think you want a little more than just me to say what you already said. I think you're trying to ask how it overcomes karma, and it overcomes karma because in the bhakti, in the devotion, you create new karmas. Devotion itself is a karma. Yeah. Bhakti is not a thing in itself, it's an attitude with which the karma is performed. So when you do bhakti, full karma full of bhakti, then what happens is you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing at the right time, correct? And you're doing the right thing at the right time, in the right way, in the rightest way possible. So you're not doing anything that should not be done. Moreover, you are creating new good karma. Your punya bank is increasing, which you want. Yeah. And when that happens, you always want the punya to be higher than the papa in the process of gaining this knowledge. Never let that happen. Always be like this, because the invisible punya that your actions and your devoted actions are garnering become antibodies to vaccinate you against the effect of all the duritas or the papas. Because the papas are also invisible, correct? Karma's done God knows when. So invisible karma there, and the invisible effects of this karma here, that's why it's called adrishta, invisible. So one adrishta tackles the other adrishta, and this punya adrishta, if it has got a strong present, biffs the papa adrishta out of the picture, And so if there's any problems in focusing on this knowledge, if the mind is all over the place, why should I attend class, what am I going to get out of this, and will the inner child ever integrate these hopelessnesses, why should I worship, why should I do good karma, all these thoughts, if they are going to hijack you and hold you hostage and stop the knowledge from being internalized, it goes away. That's why the punya bank is first buttressed. It's a very intelligent thing to do. So the devotion and the devotedness with which every action is performed becomes a very important step in overcoming negative karma, especially. And if the negative karma is not strong, it's completely negated or it becomes bearable. Yeah. Okay. Merry Christmas tomorrow. May Santa Claus bless everyone. Oh. See you all on Thursday, okay? Yeah. Oh, last question. All right. One more question. Yes? Please tell Kamala. What is Krishna Kripa? Bhagavan's grace. That is what Bhagavan is involved. We say Bhagavan in relation to the one who puts the karmas in the correct place and make it come at the correct time. That is Kripa. Somebody else, Kamala had a question. Maybe she is typing. Oh, you didn't have a question. Okay. All right, wonderful.